Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video, I'm going to talk about the human being, what that stands for, right? Because a lot of people feel that being means, a life form, like this physical life form, when really being is a state that's provided. Okay, and let me discuss that. So, the human is this identity that we've embodied, right? Because when we are born, we become a member of a membership, which we can call humanity, right? And we are then part of the species we call human being. But sadly, when we get taught to be the human, right? The curriculum in becoming the human, we don't get taught to present a state of being, right? To be. We get really taught to do, right? Which then ends up us, the pathway we use through mind thought in regards to being a thinker, providing a state that is not in alignment with what we are, right? So as we go about life, as creators, right? Creating technology, creating reality that then destroys and erodes the very state that supports us while we go about doing that. Okay? And we will define that as intelligence, right? Because as the human, we believe that we are the highest life form here on this planet, even though what we deem as lower life forms, yes, they're not going about doing as much, making as much, but at least the way they go about life is in alignment and support to the very state and environment that supports them. Okay, so for me, that's more intelligent in regards to doing it that way, right? Humans define intelligence that is very close to what you deem as the ego, right? Creating things just for the sake of creating them. And then obviously money gets involved in regards to that, and obviously you can sell money, we'll make more of it, right? And so really, the word human being is really more about the human presenting a state of being, okay, which not a lot of us do because we're not hardwired and programmed to do that, right? To be. We do. We're human doings, okay? Now, why a state of being is so important, though, is that it allows us to open our heart. And this is why this clearing of opening someone's heart is one of the most common clearings we have to do session to session, because what each human that I work on in a session have got in common is they were all taught and hardwired and programmed the same way as the human. So that immediately gives us the awareness and the understanding that the way that we're built to be as the human, or do as the human, I should say, is not the correct way, right? So, because it's closing our heart, right? And why the heart's open, why the heart being open is very important, because it's the seat of the soul. That's where your authenticity exists. And if it's closed off, it can't come through. And when you fully understand what reality is and your role in it, and also what the body's role in it, which it's not really a body, again, that's a human level of knowing, of perceiving it as a body, and also how we're taught to perceive it as well is very important. Comes into play here. It's very important to understanding this bigger picture. Okay, so ascension is all about enabling our authenticity to be present and represented here. That's essential. Okay? So it needs a number of things to happen to allow that. And a key word there is to allow. Okay? And to allow that is present a state of being which allows the heart open. Because when we're in doing, we open the mind. And when the mind opens, the heart closes. Okay? So see the mind and the heart as two doorways that cannot be open at the same time. Because they are doorways or gateways, portals that are facilitating certain intelligences to utilize what we call a body. And again, we'll get to that. So when we're following what we were taught to do as the human, through mind, thought, and be thinkers, then an intelligence is guiding and directing us from here, and we're not providing our authenticity through the heart because the heart's closed off, okay? Now, your reality, your world, the earth, doesn't require you as the human to be here to change things, to evolve things, to turn things around, the things to get better. It requires you as the soul, because it requires authenticity. It doesn't require your conditioning as a human. It requires your authenticity. And as I say, a state of being facilitates your authenticity to be present and represented through the body, which my high consciousness calls an interface. Now, interface is a term we use for like an iPhone or a computer, because an iPhone really is a mini computer. So if we go along with that, the body being an interface, we can connect to this understanding that the body really is a computer. Okay, and there are a lot of intelligence out there that want to use the computer, wants to facilitate itself through the computer to extend its creation or extend its will through, because there is a law that all consciousness must evolve. This is why they do what they do. Okay, so because you are not the body or what you perceive the body. You are the consciousness or intelligence you facilitate through it. Okay, and more of you, to get joy, to get happiness, to get peace, to get love, is facilitating more of you as a soul, as a consciousness, which is through the heart, an open heart. Not the mind, but through the heart. Okay? So, how do we do that? Now, another thing about a state of being is, because a lot of people ask, well, how do I know if I'm in the heart instead of the mind? Well, the heart only cares about the now. It doesn't care about 2 minutes ago. It doesn't care about 2 minutes in the future. Right? It cares about you being fully self-aware in the moment. Right? This understanding that we want to squeeze as much juice out of that lemon in the moment. Right? Make the most out of every moment. And how can we do that? Because we know that life is all about decisions and choices. And if we're more self-aware in the moment where we actually make decisions and choices, which means we create from the moment. We don't create in the past, we don't create in the future, we create in the moment. The more we're self-aware in that moment, the better decisions and choices we're going to make, and be more aware of where we invest our energy into the creation we're trying to provide. Now, the problem when we get into the mind and thought, we lose that self-awareness, so we end up continually making decisions and choices, which we are doing moment to moment, but we do not have the self-awareness to know where that energy is going. So a lot of our energy gets guided and directed into things that we actually don't want more of. The things that we don't like about the world, don't like about our life, don't like about ourselves. And then we start to direct our focus on why it's like that about things outside sources instead of looking back at what we're doing as a creative force. Okay, so when the mind is guiding that control, the intelligence that comes through the mind, then that creation becomes a reflection of what it wants to evolve, not you. Okay, so this is the problem with the human, because the human is essentially a program. right? If you look at the body as the computer, this identity we have embodied as a human is a program. It's not you. That's not your authenticity. It's not something we really want to hold on to, that identity, because you're not here for, as the human, you're not really here for humanity. You're here to evolve yourself as a consciousness. That's why you're here. That's why your consciousness, your as infinite consciousness, you as the soul, wants to extend its will through this interface to extend its creation, right? To convert formless frequencies into formed creation, which we call matter, physical matter. Okay, or perceived physical matter. Okay, so when we talk about the moment, why that's important, right? A state of being, and being heart-centered, is about being self-aware, which means being fully in the moment, right? The present moment. Now, the present moment is often referred to as the infinite now. Why is it called the infinite now? Because it's the closest thing we can get to by in removing ourselves from time. Now, why this is important? Because when we look at us as the soul, us as the consciousness, us as the soul and the consciousness is not bound or limited to time. It's just the human. Okay. And time is put in place as a cage. It's there to limit you. It's there to negatively influence and impact you. Okay. And we can get into that aspect of linear time, right? Because, as I say, the human that is taught to think, right? That's the curriculum. You embody this identity that's given to you, which is the human, and then you get taught to become a thinker, which is using mind thought. And that opens up, the heart closes off. So you lose and you forget about what you truly are, authentically are. Okay? And from that point onwards, you follow what you see, which is not even close to 1% of what can be seen, so it's a form of limitation. And you couple it up with a thought process, which is being dependent on the way that you were taught to perceive something from the intelligence that comes through the mind, which is not you. Okay? The mind and thoughts are not you. Okay? Now, what the mind does in its thoughts, it removes your self-awareness, right? So it removes you from the moment, and you get very much caught up in regards to the past and the future, which we call linear time, the negative impacts of linear time, where all of a sudden, hey, you have all these experiences and traumas and all these things that happen, which then become your past. But in the way that we are built and hardwired and programmed to be as the human, with the mind guiding that experience, we continually bring the past into the now to influence the choices we make in the now, which then creates a future, the next moment, that becomes a reflection, representation of your past. So it kind of makes that person feel like they've got a monkey on their back they can't shrug off. It's a loop. You get stuck in a loop, which is you don't evolve, right? And remember, you're here. Your reason being here as the consciousness is to evolve, right? So you can understand why we then get stressed, overwhelmed, uneased, things don't feel right, because you're not creating what you were supposed to be creating here and being and providing a state of being which you were supposed to do. Okay. So when we provide a being state, right, the human providing a state of being, which is presenting that infinite now, being in the infinite now, we are essentially removing ourselves from that influence and impact of linear time, right? Time or living our life in a straight line. Okay? Which then presents a state that allows the soul and consciousness that's not bound to the limitations of the human to be present and represented here, right? Now, this is important to us because if we, at our core, are infinite consciousness, right, which means an energy that is not bound to limitation, right? It's infinite, which means it's expansive. But while we're here at the human, we tend to be massively limited. What's going on? Well, we're limited because we're embodying an identity that's not us, the human. And we are facilitating guidance or direction by an intelligence that's not us. That's what's going on. So once we provide the right state that opens the heart, right, and facilitates the correct intelligence, what we actually authentically are as a souls of consciousness, and we drop the human identity and we allow our soul, what we authentically are, to be represented in this interface, then all of a sudden we can learn and understand reality by seeing the bigger picture, like going beyond the limitations that we were given originally as the human. Okay, so essentially our perspective and perception of reality as the human was being written or narrated, let's put it, by an intelligence that's not us, coming through the mind. And what made it real was us. Okay, because we're creators of reality. We are guided, whether it's through thought, right, through mind thought, or through a feeling, a knowingness that we get, which is more intuitive through the heart. That goes towards us making decisions and choices, which becomes a transfer of energy into creation. Quantum physics states, right, that for reality to be here, it requires an observer. Now, the important aspect or question here is, when they're observing, what are they using? They're using their place of attention. And we know that where your place of attention goes, energy flows, which that expression is saying that it's a transfer of energy. You are transferring your energy into creation. Okay, so if a certain intelligence is narrating, writing the story, then you are making that story real through embodying it and believing it. This is the power of belief. Okay, the power of belief is when we invest all of our energy as a creator into something becoming real, right? So if, as I say, if we are the human, and as the human we follow observation, right? And as I say, observation is only 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum of light, not even close to looking at life through a keyhole. That is generous. Coupled, right, to try and figure out what we're observing through a thought process which relies on the way that you are programmed to perceive it. You can see the problem here, right? Because then we just invest that energy in the way that we were kind of taught to see it to make that real. And so that's how it will be represented. So you've got, and humans believe that's just out of their control out there, right? What's being presented in their life, right? Because we're in a state of doing instead of being. We're in a state of being easily controlled and manipulated. Okay, but when we get into a state of being, we open our heart, then things shift and change. Okay, because we become more self-aware of the choices we make, right? So therefore, we become more self-aware of where our energy goes, which means that energy goes into creating more of what our hearts desires, right? More of the things we actually do want as part of our life instead of the things we don't want. And a big aspect in how the collective controls that, and the intelligence that comes through the mind, which controls the collective, right? The narrative, the curriculum of what becomes the human, right? Because as I say, the human is a program. It's what's programmed into this computer. Okay. Is that we just blindly follow that because that's how we were taught to perceive it. And what actually makes it real is you. So all we need to do is question our beliefs and see, is that belief of what I was taught as the human, how does that feel? Because we're going to use the discernment of our soul that sees the bigger picture, which is through the heart, through heart feel, not mind thought, heart feel. And if that doesn't align with how you want it to be and how it should feel and your heart's desires, then change it. Change it. You have that power. Okay. So this is the power of belief, right? the pharmaceutical industry, right? When they're testing pharmaceuticals, right? What they test against a placebo. Now, obviously, there's a lot of success with their products through the placebo, right? It's not even has the same chemical composition of the pharmaceutical, but it creates the results they're looking for. Why? Because someone believes it is that. So what's that showing? Really, that those studies forget the pharmaceutical. The key and the center focus of those studies is actually the power of our own belief system, right? Which is the whole placebo aspect. Okay. And why that's not being shined and given its time to shine is because this world is heavily controlled through mind orientation, mind thought, and the intelligence that comes through the mind does not want you to open the heart, does not want you to know how powerful you are as a creative force. This is why I do so many videos, so many posts about providing greater insights and understanding and knowing of what the mind actually is. It's not you. And stop embodying it, please. Do not call it my mind. It's the mind. Okay, more of you comes through the heart, not through the mind. The seat of the soul is the heart. Okay, the heart needs to be open to present more of you as authenticity, to present things like joy, happiness, ease, which is to feel at peace with self. What we're seeing collectively at the moment with humanity is individual creative forces at a conflict within themselves, and they project that conflict out into the world. They're conflicted because something's not right. And what's not right is that identity of human is not you, and the guidance through mind thought, that intelligence there, is also not you. That's why, and why you feel uneasy is that's because your authenticity is trying to find a way to present an awareness for you to change, to drop into the heart, open the heart, and present what you're always supposed to do, your purpose in being here, to represent yourself as what you authentically are, as a soul, as a consciousness, and you are here to evolve and expand your own authenticity as a consciousness. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Please post any comments below. If you'd like to book any sessions for healing sessions or reality coaching, more of this stuff that I'm talking about in this video, more about understanding your reality, your role in it, all sorts of things like that. Also, which is, you want to go to trulyholistic.net/appointments/ if you'd like to buy any energy products that I make, also you go to trulyholistic.net/products/ Please like the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you really enjoyed this content. We've got so many videos on there and so much more stuff to come, as you are infinite consciousness, which means you've got infinite possibilities, ever evolving ascension, which allows you to see more, learn more, understand more. So there'll be a lot more content coming. And share the video for anybody that you feel needs to hear this and is interested in this work in regards to ascension and in regards to just general wellness and vitality. Until next time, catch you later.